So I have been doing something athletic my entire life. From high school, running track, playing basketball, volleyball, field hockey, I did that. From graduating from high school, then going to college, that's when I started doing weight training, cross country. Then after college, I decided I want to run a marathon. So I did marathons until I blew my knees and my ankles out. And then from that, I started cycling. So I say all that to say, that's just been a part of who I am. And I've always enjoyed working out. But as we get older, I've noticed there is a reason to change how we do things. So I may not, ride with the same intensity that I used to, or I may not, go out and try to run 10 miles. It may be a mile or something doing the walk run method, which is what I've started doing. So my name is Falecia. I'm here with Pierre, and we're just talking about how we stay in shape. We are both over 50. And we want to let everyone know that it can be done. You can stay in shape. You can be happy. Being older doesn't necessarily mean when the extra weight comes, you have to just deal with it and leave it there. If you choose to live a healthier lifestyle, it can be done. So tell me, Pierre, what do you do to stay in shape and why?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I'm excited to be here. So no shame, 62 years old, entrepreneur, and for the most part, I grew up sports orientated. My dad was basketball coach. I love to swim. I learned how to swim at an early age, and I've been swimming ever since. Probably not as much as I would like to, but I love the water. It's my connection between tying in all the atmospheres, and the water gives me that grace and that peace that I can only get there.
Definitely.
Cycling, different animal, running. Interesting. Don't run as much as I used to. I did a couple halves. I was running 5 miles a day at one point. Now, I try to get in at least a 5K maybe a week, sometimes twice a week. Okay. But cycling for the most part has been 150 miles a week, sometimes on a good week, 200 miles a week.
Sure.
And I like all my cycling to be done outdoors. So some people have different preferences.
You know me. Yeah. I'll come right down in the basement and get on those rollers and let it go for me.
Yep.
So what has kept you active all these years?
I think what has kept me active all these years is the fear of something happening to me again. Having been a past stroke survivor, kind of changed the whole elements about what I did, how I did it, when I do it, and the way I do it. And it's imperative that I don't end up in Johns Hopkins Hospital again for some unknown causes, for things that I can control myself.
Sure, definitely. I will tell you, when I was young, I watched my uncle and one of my cousins have to have insulin. And back in the day, that was a needle. And as a little child, I don't like needles. I still to this day do not. But I remembered, I said, I'd never want to have to take a needle for a medication. So as I got a little older, I realized in my family, we get diabetes when we get older. The pancreas doesn't work as well, and it's usually brought on by obesity. So I have always, I love working out anyway, but the driver for me is I do not want to be diabetic. I do not want to be on lots of medications. And if that's a way to kind of prolong it, it might happen eventually just because it's sometimes hereditary. But for me, it's, let's do everything we can possibly do so that we're not on medications and in the hospital and those sorts of things.
And I agree with you. My mom was a diabetic, and I think I'm the change factor guy. I'm the guy that doesn't want to be diabetic. I'm the guy that I'm willing to go out in the heat to exercise. I'm willing to go out in the cold to exercise. But I think a lot of times when we start talking about diabetes and the diabetic scenarios, I think that reality it is, they say that it's hereditary and there's a gene in you and do that. But I kind of want to beg to differ there, just to the fact that I think that, we do what our parents did what their parents did, and I don't necessarily think that all those things were the right things to do, especially when it comes down to eating. So it comes down to economic decision making. So I think my parents had a lot more flexibility of what they bought at the grocery store as opposed to what my grandmother and my grandfather had.
Okay. Yes.
So that change element and love being a change agent is that everything I do in my life is not to be taking insulin, and this body of mine can produce enough insulin without having something to put in you. So as you said, the injection from that, 62 years old, as I indicated earlier, I don't take any medications, I don't have any high blood pressure. I love water. I drink two things usually, water, coffee in the morning. And just let me go on record and say that I like to drink my water, hot water in the morning and room temperature water during the day.
Definitely.
I don't drink any cold products because I do understand that it takes a lot more for my body to break that temperature of that coldness back down to get into a digestive mode and do this and do that. So those are just a few of the things. But to stay in shape, I am doing something every day, 6 days a week to exercise, whether I'm going to go to the pool and swim. I'm definitely going to cycle. I'm definitely going to walk, and I'll probably get a run or two in. But I'm also going to be very mindful of what I'm eating.
Sure. Yep. They say it all starts in the kitchen.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
All starts in the kitchen. Yep. Let's switch gears just a little bit from the exercising and the nutrition. So for me, as I mentioned, being athletic, as long as I can remember, from the time I was able to walk, I was running. So my mom is always telling me that. But with all of that competitive, working out hard, exercising, all those things, I blew out my knees. So in the last 3 years, I've had 2 knee surgeries. One didn't go that well, so I had to have the second surgery to fix the first. So in that time, gained a whole lot of weight, eating the same way I was eating when I was active, which is a huge no-no because now I packed on the pounds. Then, my family is here, they're cooking, they're making all the great things because I'm in pain, so I need comfort food. So now trying to get back to who I used to be. Have you had injuries that you've had to work on, or how do you prevent from even getting injured?
So on the injury side, a little sciatic, but nothing that I can't do. I can stretch, but because I think I stay so mobile, that alleviates me getting injured. And I cycle enough to learn from the gentleman who taught me about the cycling, is to make sure that I'm cycling the right way. I got my cleats on the right way. My bike is fitted. I'm holding the handlebars a certain way. When I run a certain way. I run in certain shoes. So those elements, unlike a woman, are just a little bit different because as we age and we get older, I'm a married man, so I watched my wife and we went through things together. And then the fact that women's health is a tad much more different than men's when the menopause section comes in and their bodies stop producing different things. And now that's a challenge for them to supersede. And that's a big challenge, but that's something not a professional on, it's something you would be more prone to do and talk about, so our viewers would better understand what to expect at that age of 40, that age of 42 or 45, that things are going to change. My youngest daughter, I think Brittany, is 38 years old now, and Brittany's starting to, call and say, well, I can't wear this and I can't do this and I can't do that. So it was time for her mom to say, hey, listen, this is going to happen when you get here. Not that she didn't tell her whole life about it, but we hear, but we don't listen.
That's true. And I can honestly say with the menopause, each woman goes through it differently. I was talking to a friend of mine on Friday, and she was talking about not being able to sleep. That is a huge problem for women going through menopause. Believe it or not, I have no issues sleeping. I told her if I could fall asleep standing up. So there are lots of things with our bodies that change, but oftentimes we're not prepared and we're not ready because we don't already have a routine. So for example, I've been probably going through perimenopause, which is that pre-time,
Okay.
to menopause for at least 10 years. However, I didn't gain any weight until I stopped moving because of the knee surgeries. So where women start to see that weight coming fast, and some of the other changes internally that we all go through in some form or fashion, but that whole weight gain thing didn't get me until I stopped moving. So then I hear a lot of women say, oh, it's menopause now, you can't lose weight. However, and I was doing all these other things. I was, trying just to reduce the carbs. I was still eating 3 meals a day. I was, exercising, but still there was some junk in there, some cookies. But when I started doing intermittent fasting and I cut out the carbs, cut out the candy, cut out the rice, cut out the pasta, the weight started coming down.
Okay.
So my exercise is not as much as it was because I'm still recovering from the surgeries. However, menopause is tough. I'm not minimizing it for my women. However, it can be handled if you either create a routine of fitness and nutrition, or if you're already that person, you might have to step it up a little bit.